Good afternoon, all. One of the key issues, which is, of course, going to be of concern to practitioners, to landowners, when it comes to pond conservation, is, of course, the availability of funding to support the creation, the enhancement, or the management of ponds. The funding regime is uncertain and is currently under development, but I wanted to provide at least a flavour of some potential future opportunities that may be able to support pond conservation going forward. I wanted to start by talking about local nature recovery strategies. These are described by government as a new England-wide system of spatial strategies that will establish priorities for nature's recovery. These were brought forward under the Environment Act that passed Parliament towards the end of last year, and they will require the production of strategies across the whole of England, probably at local authority scale. And these strategies will contain local habitat maps, so setting out existing sites which are important for nature, as well as a list of priority opportunities for habitat creation, enhancement, restoration. They are potentially going to be very influential because not only will they inform, for example, decision making by the local authorities that produce these strategies, so for example around planning decisions and so on, but they will also potentially help to drive activity and investment through a whole range of other routes as well. A recent parliamentary briefing described that these strategies may be influential because they can be used to drive delivery of a range of government priorities. And the briefing specifically mentioned the 25 Environment Plan, the Environment Act, which applies to the strategies itself, and the Agriculture Act. Under the Environment Act, there will be targets set for recovery of nature under a range of whole different topics. Under the 25 Environment Plan, there are a range of objectives around nature's recovery, and under the Agriculture Act, there are aspirations around delivering delivering sort of public goods across the farms landscape. So the priorities set out within these strategies will potentially help to drive funding under a whole range of different routes, which will help to deliver against all of these government objectives. So to provide a little bit more detail about what that could actually mean, there are two key areas which I wanted to highlight as potential future funding opportunities. The first of those is the Environmental Land Management Scheme, or ELMS. This is the funding regime which will be replacing existing agri-environment schemes from 2024 and beyond, and it's currently in development now. It's based on the principle of public money for public goods, and what that means is rather than provide funding to farmers and land managers based simply on the area of land that they're managing, this scheme will look to reward farmers for the provision of things that the market doesn't currently cater for. So, for example, enhancing biodiversity, reducing flood risk, providing public access. These are these public goods that the scheme is based upon. It will consist of components, and the first of those is the Sustainable Farming Incentive. This is a sort of entry-level scheme that will deliver important environmental outcomes across the whole countryside. So it is designed to be easy to access and available to all farmers. There is a pilot underway currently, and rollout of the scheme will begin from 2022. The government are aiming for significant uptake under this scheme, so they're hoping that 70% of farms will be taking part. Farmers can enter on a field scale basis, so they can enter individual fields into the scheme. They don't have to enter their whole farm, and so they can tailor what they're doing across their holding. We know that the scheme will be based on a series of standards, so it will set out guidelines that farmers will have to follow to be in receipt of these payments. And we know that the standards will have a range of different ambitions within them, so they will likely contain some reasonably straightforward elements, as well as some potentially more challenging elements for which a higher payment rate would be received. We don't know the full detail of the scheme as yet, but we do understand that there will be a number of standards which will potentially provide some benefit to ponds within the farm landscape. And one of these, for example, is water body buffering. So this would be looking at providing a natural vegetation buffer around water bodies to protect them from diffuse pollution from the farm landscape. We don't yet know whether this will apply to ponds or whether it will be aimed at large water bodies like lakes and rivers, but there is scope that it would potentially benefit ponds within farmers' holdings. There are going to be other standards, so for example, a soil standard, and again this may protect water bodies from soil runoff. The second and third components of NELs are more competitive, so they won't necessarily be open to everyone, and they will be more targeted. Local nature recovery is the middle component, and this focuses on creating and managing and restoring habitats, and it will operate at the farm scale or potentially encourage collaboration across a number of farms operating at a farm cluster scale. It will be piloted from this year, and the elements will be available fully via a phased rollout from 2023 onwards. I mentioned that it will be targeted. Government aspire that this will focus on delivering the right things in the right places. One of the ways that this could be achieved is by ensuring that the options that are available to farmers and land managers under this scheme align with the aspirations set out in local nature recovery strategies. The same concept could apply to landscape recovery, which is the third component of the scheme. This is going to be a large-scale ecosystem restoration-focused scheme, and it will likely require the collaboration of a number of landowners, because scale-wise it's looking at sort of project areas which are between 500 and 5,000 hectares. It too is going to be piloted from 2022, and the learning from the pilots will inform a phased rollout from 2024 onwards. And it's looking at large-scale and long-term landscape recovery. So there is talk of schemes that sort of potentially run for 20 years, for example. Again, we don't know a lot about the detail of the scheme as yet, development, but we do understand that there will be a number of different themes within the landscape recovery component, and indeed one of those that's being piloted this year is rivers and streams. So whilst this doesn't explicitly mention ponds within the title, if it's looking at delivering landscape recovery over a large scale part of the landscape, then any ponds within that project area would potentially also benefit from the same kinds of activities that would be undertaken to enhance the rivers and streams. So in all, we don't know a lot, as I said, about the detail of the environmental scheme components as yet. But from what we do know, there will potentially be opportunities to enhance, to create, to manage ponds through all three of these components of the future environmental land management scheme. And the second aspect which I wanted to touch on to wrap up is that of biodiversity net gain. This is described by government as an approach which aims to leave the natural environment in a measurably better state than beforehand. This applies broadly as a concept when it comes to planning. So previously we approached the harm that could potentially be caused by development by adopting a no net loss approach. The idea was that we should try to ensure that overall biodiversity didn't suffer as a result of development. And it has become accepted that the natural environment is not served very well by this approach, and we need to be looking at providing a net benefit to biodiversity, not just no net loss. So biodiversity net gain is the concept which has come forward, and this has been made mandatory through the Environment Act. It is likely that this requirement will actually come into effect in 2023, and what it's going to require is that schemes that receive planning permission will be required to deliver 10% biodiversity net gain, calculated using the DEFRA biodiversity metric. So this looks at the biodiversity of the site which will be impacted by the development and what will be lost, and calculates an overall benefit that will be delivered through the scheme, either by delivering enhancements on site. So, for example, building over a species pool, miniature grassland wouldn't deliver a vast biodiversity loss. This could be offset by creating a species-rich meadow on part of the site. In a lot of cases, though, there won't be the opportunity to deliver all of the 10% on the development site itself, and so there'll be opportunities to deliver off-site. And this could be at other nearby locations which could benefit from biodiversity funding from the developer. This is where the local nature strategies come back in. So the opportunities that are identified under those strategies would likely provide a framework which would be used to direct where biodiversity net gain funding could be used in order to achieve the 10% requirement. Interestingly, the approach could also potentially be used more widely. So just when it comes to schemes requiring planning permission, but it's something that could be adopted, for example, by businesses wanting to ensure that their own impacts upon the environment are reduced. A good example is that of the water industry, who are looking at their business plans that are being developed for the price review period, 2025 to 2030, and they're looking at the scope for biodiversity gain to be one of the performance indicators that they set for themselves. So the local nature recovery strategies that set out these priorities across the landscape could be used not just directly when it comes to schemes requiring the 10% gain under planning rules, but also by a whole host of other regimes that could be looking to contribute to nature's recovery. To close, the picture, as I said, around future funding opportunities is uncertain, it's in development, but on the whole, there are a lot of potential opportunities that could allow us to direct funding towards pond conservation in the future, So a potentially positive outlook when it comes to ponds within the UK environment. Thank you.